Welcome to the Edge of Light. My name is Michael Emmett. Um, so there's a couple things, clerical in nature. I'm gonna leave the windows and doors open this time because it just gets so hot in here. So I hope that the birds and the cars and whatever is not distracting, and we'll see how that goes. Another thing that I'd like to do and start this as a regular part of these episodes is just to lead us through just a very, very, very short 10 breaths. Um, you know, so I've been facilitating breath work for close to 10 years now. And it's funny, we do these big events and, people come and they ask like, well, all we're doing is breathing. What do I need you for? And no one's ever like rude about it, but it's a legitimate question because I tell everyone like, this is a free, legal, thing, very accessible. Anyone who's breathing can do it. Um, and I say, I encourage you, please do breathing on your own, in a conscious, focused way. Not to the extent that we do it in our events, which is like a intense 90 minutes, but on your own, just to even do like I always say, it's like brushing your teeth. You go into the dentist maybe 2-3 times a year, and they do a deep clean and various special tools and whatever. But on the day to day, when you spend just a couple minutes, brush your teeth, it's good maintenance. So on that note, as long as you're not driving or doing something where being possibly lightheaded could be dangerous, let's just do 10 nice, easy breaths together. It's important not to ever hold the breath in this. It's got to be smooth and easy and like a pendulum, but I live on an island. I always think of the waves, like the water coming in and out. So doing 10. And go back to normal breathing. So for me, in that short period, and maybe for you in observing, is it makes a big difference. Now, I can feel myself drastically more mellow than a minute ago, and this won't last all day, and there's also no reason not to, like, I'll jokingly say redose myself, but it does make a difference. And along the lines of giving advice to people about the breath work, if you did that one time, what did that take? 30 seconds? Less? If you did that every day consistently, it would put you ahead of probably a lot of professional breathwork facilitators, myself included, because I don't do it every day. I should, but I don't. Okay, well, I'm glad we did that. I want to start that as a ritual for episodes going forward. So today, though, I think the main topic to address is last episode I was talking about the edge of light and what that meant to me, and how the light inevitably displaces the dark. While that's true, I think the way that said it and the way I described it was misleading, and I think it's important to clarify that because as light gets stronger, the darkness gets weaker, and vice versa. and there's not a competition to it because one implies the other. So there's no fighting there, and that was. I was talking about that, but I feel like that's misleading in the sense that in the healing and opening process of the mind, just because you learn something, just because you acquire a higher level of knowledge or some deeper understanding of something, of yourself, or you understand like the root of a trauma, or like all these things, just because that ignorance has now been displaced with knowledge, it does not even remotely imply that there won't be any friction. And in fact, I would say that a frictionless transition is so uncommon, it's almost not even worth talking about. And that's what I think I might have been misleading in saying that there's not a conflict. It's not a conflict only because saying if I turn a quarter from head to tails, the tail doesn't fight the head, because the tail is the head, it's just the other side of it, right? You're just flipping it. But with our system, our physical, mental, spiritual system, we have inertia. We have patterns. We have, in more intense cases, like ruts or grooves that we cling to, that we're comfortable in. And so when information encourages us to get out of these structures, belief systems, patterns, they're even in good, best case scenario, there's always a little bit of inertia. The image that comes to my mind is like a boat, sailing along the ocean and having a great time, or having some time. I don't know. They see a rock, something coming out of the water. Okay, you see this, so you start to steer away, because now there was something unknown, now it's known. It's like, okay, there's this issue that I want to avoid, I want to bypass this struggle, so I start to turn. Well, that doesn't mean that the boat now, just the course is like a hard angle. That wouldn't happen. What would happen is, if you start to turn, then the boat's current trajectory at the beginning of the turn will continue. You'll slowly move in the direction that you're being encouraged, and that's just the way of it. Like there's no reason to complain about that. That's just the way it is. But there's a few things about that quality of adjusting yourself that need to be addressed. So one important thing is, you might understand, like in my case, like I understood that I needed to leave my corporate job, that it wasn't right for me, and yet I was being seduced, we'll say, in a way, with all the money and the comfort and all these things, such that I knew that the right way, a more appealing way was out there for me, and yet I was I experienced a friction in that transition, because parts of me were still attached to that safety, and I had to resolve that, and so that caused a lot of internal conflict. I think it was about 2 years of should I, shouldn't I, how do I go through and preparing and all that, and then eventually okay, whatever it takes, I gotta go, and then you just you deal with it. But another thing that occurs to me is like in and again, obviously I'm a advocate of breath work, but in plant medicine, it's the purgative aspect of plant medicine or frog medicine, for example. um, that's just like part of the game. You know, people go in there with a bucket, because when these energies move, it can be almost violent. It's like it erupts out of you, and that can be really intense. So I think that people going into those circumstances, they know that it's going to happen, and so they're prepared for it, or at least they should be, if the facilitator of the event knows what they're doing. Now, I would initially be inclined to say, okay, well, you have this like harsh plant medicine practice, but then you have like your meditating under the Bodhi tree practice, which is this gentle, like inviting warmness of whatever. Not true. Uh, and I'll just say this, in my opinion, and from my personal experience and everybody that I know, anyone who tells you that they had an enlightening experience of just like waking up on a lotus flower and the in warmth and rainbows and whatever, they're full of shit, because uh, I don't know anyone that was like that. It wasn't like that for me, and I can't even really reconcile how that could have happened, because of all the stickiness of the inertia of the physical, mental, and spiritual system. Um, you know, Anyone that describes their experience as being so gentle and beautiful like that, either one, they're lying, or two, they just didn't really get where they thought they got. Um, and the reason why I'm saying that even meditation is can be gnarly is because I'll give you an example from my experience. I've had in Vipassana, like around day three, I think. I've done it a couple times, 3 times, and for whatever reason, it's very interesting. There's like points. It's a 10-day program, but there's points in there that um, seem to be known for like the amount of time it takes to push something out. And it's like, I think around between day 2 and day 3 and day 6 and day 7. I'm not sure exactly, but those are the days when the most people try to leave. And um, and so on my second retreat, um, I was doing the meditation, and it felt like somebody had cut down from the back of my head down my back and pulled my skin off forward, like I had been like forcibly, um, not molted. That's birds. What do you call it for like snakes? I don't know. Shed the skin, but it was but forcibly. It was so intense, and it caught me off guard. I'd never even heard of that before, but it was like, um, I mean, that's the way it felt, in the sense of like the sensation of the movement of everything. I wouldn't say it felt like I was actually having my skin ripped off in a pain sense, but it, this way, and then like a really intense, not borderline painful, but not really, feeling of pulling off this way. Um, and then just being like, well, what was that, right? And totally caught me off guard. So that stuff happens, and I wouldn't say that that's special to me. I mean, a lot of people have very, very exotic forms of release. A lot of people get sick. I've gotten actually physically ill, like I thought I had the flu for a couple days, because energy moved so violently. And this is just from meditating. I mean, it's intense meditation, but you're just sitting there. I do think that has a lot of value, in the sense that, if you take a plant or some synthetic, we'll call it medicine, a psychedelic, and you feel unwell, it would be really easy just to say, oh, this was tainted in some way. But when you do it through breath work or meditation, then there's no, well, you can always come up with something clever if you try really hard. But it's more likely that you will attribute the purge to the energy, an expired energy leaving your body, than you being in physical trouble. You know, because the last thing that you need is to panic, right? So, you know, as long as you stick with the process, you know, stay with it, you know, don't give up. You know, they're very clear. I found this out in various like mystical subsections of the formal religions. They do, when the monks, or you know, the ones that are kind of separated from normal society to do their meditations and prayers, the fatigue, the headache, the sickness, like, and I get the fatigue and headache too, but it's not nearly as bad as you know, the sickness. These are just parts of the body, like holding on to the energies that are moving. You know, they're, like I said, it's like a sticky, it's an inertia, it's something that it takes some effort to eject these things, and you know, that's just the way it is. And the whole reason why I'm going into this, now it's like almost 15 minutes, is because if you feel unwell and you've gone through these other ways of like breathwork, meditation, as opposed to the possibility of like a tainted drug or something, you've got to just stay with it, because the fact that you've provoked it to the point that it's starting to erupt, that's awesome. You know, that's great news. And then you just got to stay with it. That's why also previously I was talking about the warrior mentality, and why what my side breath work, you know, I'll call it business, you know, offering is, we call it warrior breath, because you have to have that warrior state of mind to be acknowledging that you are the one that's provoking this discomfort, and you're not going to quit. It's like, yes, I am uncomfortable, and also I deserve to be happy and healthy, and if this is what it takes, then this is what it takes. No complaints. I do want to say, and I think this is really important to also acknowledge, that, shoot, I can start to hear people's, I'm going to close that. So I do want to say that I think while certain effects of the body and the mind, and you know, all these like adjustments, they happen, it is very important not to rush this process prematurely. And I say this kind of with a heavy heart, because I personally know 3 people. 2 of them went to a hospital for a couple months, and one of them is currently in prison. And I wouldn't have said that they were bad people in any way, but that through their own poor choices and poor guidance, were not respecting the need for caution and opening their minds, and unfortunately it was it turned out really bad, especially in one case. So this isn't to say you shouldn't go through these processes. It just means be smart about it, you know. the meditation is very safe. It can be intense, like I said, my very intense experiences, but it's very safe. The breath work is very safe. Plant medicine, psychedelics, not that safe. It can be with, quality control and, competent practitioners. It can be very safe, but just be smart about it. That's my public service announcement on that is, stay the course. Just be smart about it. Don't be in a rush. Don't take unnecessary risk with this because it's your life. It's just not worth it, and it can go horribly wrong if your intention is not appropriately focused. Okay, glad I got through that because I felt like a moron telling everybody, or just saying, "Oh, and this beautiful light just overwhelms the darkness," and it's like that's not how it works at all. I mean, that happens, it does, but that's not the whole picture. Okay, so. Now that we got that out of the way, I want to talk about some more fun stuff. Balancing between the realms. So, I guess this is kind of actually related, is that when the mind starts opening, which is intrinsic to the body healing, and when I say body, I don't mean like my elbow hurts and now it doesn't. I mean the body-mind system. When you're healing, meaning like you're letting go of anger, resentments, anxieties, fears, all these things, it allows your awareness to reclaim vast amounts of power, and then, well, what do? What I've noticed, and what most people I think do notice, is that when you reclaim all this power, it's not like it just banks somewhere. You use it. You see more. Now your brain and your upper levels of awareness can perceive more things with this newly liberated energy. Now, the pitfall of that, and what I've noticed with a lot of spiritually inclined people, is that they start to perceive new things that they didn't know existed or didn't think were real, and then they get totally mesmerized and seduced by that. And I get it. Like I was there for a little while, so I'm not judging that because it's awesome. I totally see why that happens. But the problem is that you're still a human being having a human experience. It's just that human experience has become much more broad. So it's important to remember and to stay anchored in your physical being, while also enjoying and using this other new ability and awareness, not as a way of escaping your life, but to enhance it. And I think that that's the really important part, is that it's kind of like, I don't know why I'm thinking about boats so much, but it's like, if you're on land all the time, and then now you just learned how, you just got a boat, and now you can drive this boat. To someone who is unsatisfied or resentful of their life on land, they might take that boat and just sail off into the ocean, not to come back. And that might be a tragedy. So my recommendation would be, you get on that boat, go and enjoy the open ocean, go fishing or whatever, and then go home and share those stories with people. Encourage them to go out on the ocean. And I think not being anchored and having an anchoring practice can lead to various disharmonies in the body and mind, and and it will actually stunt further growth by trying to stay in that other space for too long. My one of my teachers, he actually said, I was talking to him about awareness in other realms, and he said, yeah, you go there for like 30 seconds. I don't know why you'd need to go longer, you know? And I thought, okay. I didn't agree with him at the time, but I was also kind of young and stupid when I first heard that. Um, and a really good example is these the Shaolin monks. So whatever hundreds, thousands of years ago, when Buddhism was all over Asia, all these monks were spending so much time in meditation and opening their minds, but they the masters were seeing that they were all physically sick, and so one of them, and I forget his name, he said, no, we need the body to be strong too to support the mind. And so that's when they started these very rigorous practices. That was the beginning of Shaolin. And now, they do all these amazing, amazing feats of balance, strength, endurance, all these things. And that's what I've seen, is that in order to allow the mind to open and open and open and open, the body needs to be stronger and stronger to support and anchor all that open growth. Because if you go too far over, it's almost like a tree. Like a tree that grows the canopy too much without the roots. It can look really pretty for a short time, but it's very susceptible to bad weather. It could fall over. Whereas if the roots and the canopy are growing evenly, then the tree is very, very strong and stable. So, yeah, be like a tree. All right, take care.